For loops, we've actually dealt with these in a couple of lessons already, but a for loop is just a way to iterate through some sort of iterable, and is going to allow us to take an action based on every item in a list, a tuple, a set, or a string. So some sort of iterable object. And so we can say favefoods is equal to a list of pizza, tacos, and salmon. And so a for loop is really easy. We're just going to do for every food in the iterable, the favefoods iterable. Print food. And so what this looks like is for item in your iterable, you can do something with said item. That's all that is. And so this syntax is really easy, but also notice indenting, important. We're using a colon, so we indent at the very beginning of the next line. And so when I execute this code, we're going to see pizza, tacos, and salmon. Now we could also get a little fancier with this, and we could say print f string, my fave food is, and then the food itself. And this is going to print 3 different statements. My fave food is pizza, tacos, and salmon. And so literally that's all there is to this. Now we can mix this with a conditional or a conditional comparison operator. And we can say if that food is equal to pizza, size is equal to input, what size pizza would you like? And then print an F statement, you ordered a large pizza. And instead of saying large, we can change this to size. And so let's go ahead and try this now. And so what this is going to do is this is going to loop over every single one of these items, pizza, tacos, and salmon, no matter how many items there are. It's going to loop over all of them. And then it's going to say, if that food happens to be pizza, which is the first one here, what size pizza would you like? That's going to ask me for it. That's the size. And then it's going to say I ordered a whatever size pizza. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. It says, what size pizza would I like? I want a large pizza. And it says you ordered a large pizza. Or I could type small and it says you ordered a small pizza. Now what's cool about these iterables is we can swap this out for a set. So this is going to be a set, or we could cast it. In fact, let's do that. Let's cast this. Fave foods is going to be a set of fave foods. Now this is going to work the exact same way, but let's go ahead and comment this out. And let's just print the food. Print food. And let's execute it. It says tacos, pizza, salmon. Tacos, pizza, salmon. We know that that's a set, primarily because it's not maintaining its order anymore. We could, instead of using a set, we could use a tuple. This is going to work the exact same way. We don't even notice the difference at this point. That's pretty cool. What else can we do here? Let's use a string. So let's loop through all the characters in the word pizza. So food is equal to pizza with an exclamation mark. We can say for letter in food, print that letter. And because we know that strings are subscriptable, we learned about subscripting in a lesson a little while ago. So it's going to get P-I-Z-Z-A exclamation mark. And so let's go ahead and try this. It's also going to print out the foods from up above here in the fave foods. So let's just pay attention to the bottom part. So it says pizza, taco, salmon. That's from the top part up here. And then it says P-I-Z-Z-A exclamation mark. And that's because it's printing every single letter in our string. We can also loop through dictionaries. So let's go ahead and comment this out. And comment that out. And comment that out. We can loop through a dictionary. So we can say our dictionary of, let's say person is equal to name, Caleb. Twitter is going to be at Caleb Tallien. Feel free to come follow me there. And Instagram is going to be at coding.for.everybody. And so if we try to do this, we're going to get something a little bit strange because there's a key value pair. Which ones do we loop through? And so by default, we're going to see what it does. For, let's just call it a value, in person. Let's print that value. And we're going to see that first of all, I need to save that file again. It just prints the keys: name, Twitter, and Instagram. What's cool about this is now, because this is a dictionary, we can say dot items, and this is going to be a key value pair. So we've got a key value pair. So now we're going to deconstruct this. So for every loop here, we're going to get the name and the value, or the key and the value, the key and the value. So it's going to be a key value pair, and we can do the key is key, and the value is value. Let's throw an F at the front there for an F string, and let's try this out. And it says the key is name and the value is Caleb. The key is Twitter and the value is Caleb Tallene. The key is Instagram and the value is coding.for.everybody. We did that with items. Now you can also try this with keys, and you can also try it with just values. But you're not going to be able to deconstruct, so you're going to have to use a regular for loop. And I'm purposely making this a little bit more difficult to understand because, well, sometimes you have to pick up code that we don't always understand, and you're going to have to sort of figure it out. Now, what I would like you to do for your task for this particular lesson is just this. Loop through some sort of iterable, and if that item that you're looping through is one of the items in your list, print something. You can also do a very basic sort of example here and just loop through all the letters in a word if you wanted to. But the idea here is that you're using the for keyword, some sort of variable name, in an iterable, and then you can print whatever that variable is. Go ahead and give that a shot, and when you were done, let's head on over to that next lesson. Hello and welcome back. Let's talk about while loops. While loops are not like for loops whatsoever. So a for loop, if we open up the for loop example here, a for loop is going to loop through every item inside of some sort of iterable until it exhausts itself. And then it's going to just silently finish. And we don't have to worry about handling that sort of finish. In a while loop, we do though. And so a while loop looks like this. While something is true, do something. And so this can actually get a little bit dangerous here. So you're going to want to be careful with this. But what we can do is we can loop through something until we tell it not to. And we don't explicitly need some sort of iterable. And so as an example here, we can say, while number is less than or equal to 100, print that number. Now that number doesn't exist yet, so let's make it exist. Num is equal to 0. And so while num is equal to 0, or I said 1, but it should be 0. While num is equal to 0, print the number. Then what? Well, we have to manage this on our own now. So we can do num is equal to num plus 1. Basic addition here. So for that first iteration, it's going to say while 0 is less than or equal to 100, print that number, and then add 1 to that number. Then it's going to say, okay, well, num is now the number 1. It's still less than 100. Print the number 1. Make it number 2. 2 is less than 100. Print the number 2. Make it the number 3, so on and so on and so on. And so what we're saying here is eventually this number is going to be the number 100 or 101, and it's going to be a false statement. And so eventually, this is going to be false. And that was actually incorrect. Eventually, this whole statement is going to be false. And if it's false, it's not going to execute. We want it to execute for as long as we want it to execute until that statement, this statement here, becomes false. Let's go ahead and run this. Python while loops.py. And we can see if we scroll on up, it is just going and going and going. So it goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down to 99 and 100. And so we can do something 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 5 times if we wanted to. Doesn't really matter what the number is. The important thing is that eventually this statement becomes false. Now, what I want you to do is give this a shot, try it out on your own. And in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how we can break out of a loop or how we can skip certain numbers in a loop.